like, what have you been up to over the last couple of years? Where's your portfolio at today? Why are you in the markets you're in? Just give us a little bit more update on Boardwalk Wealth.
So look, since the last time, which is gosh, seems like forever now, right? We are actively, obviously, we've done a lot more deals. We're at about 13, 14, maybe 1,500 units. You can see it on the website. We sold about 400 of those last year. So now we're left at, I think, 13 to 1,500. Look, we continue to do deals. Started off in Texas with a couple of partners. Then I did my own stuff. And one of the deals we were partners at, I was lucky to partner with you. So we did Florida, did a couple of deals there, have a lot of deals in Atlanta. We do developments as well, primarily in South Dakota, because I've got a great partner there. So for me, the whole deal from day one, John, you and I talked about it, was how much further can we stretch our dollars versus the usual alternatives we get, right? And how can we do it in a tax efficient manner? We're not killing ourselves in the process. So those same principles, this still apply today, because for me, real estate has always been a means to an end, right? It's not the end, right? Because you learn a lot of things, you meet very interesting people, and you don't know where life takes you, right? So for me, it was always a means to an end, a solution to problems that I have, as opposed to, hey, this is the one thing that is a dream or something I want to do forever.
Yeah, and that's great to know, because you don't have to love real estate to the extent of this is the only thing you ever want to do, right? If you recognize that, hey, this is a great vehicle that can help me get from where I'm at today to where I want to be, or to solve a problem, then it's a great tool to do that. Doesn't mean you have to take on everything and make this your life's mission moving forward. Obviously, you've taken a pretty aggressive approach in regards to building out a company, acquiring properties, working with other investors, helping them get the same benefits that you were looking for your own business and your own family goals. So you certainly are doing that, but it doesn't mean that everyone has to fall in love with real estate. Yeah.
And look, John, the way I look at it is it's all a matter of time allocation, right? Like, how much time are you really willing to spend on something? So for me, I was at a stage in life where I had a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of experiences leading up to it and running, structuring deals on the institutional side. So I could leverage a lot of that. But for instance, I could have been in another profession. Maybe say I was in, I don't know, any other profession, which I didn't have the same background. And then I probably wouldn't have spent the same amount of time to actually go build my own business, because what people don't realize is people see now, hey, you built a business. Well, 10 years or 12 years before that, I was actually in these businesses for other people. So I mean, there was a big lead up to this, right? And I didn't have a problem and flip the switch. So for me, it's a means to an end. And like you said, a lot of this is a factor of how much time you want to spend at something. And basically, what do you want out of life, right? I mean, I didn't want to be the richest, but most boring, loneliest person on the planet. I just wanted to have enough to have a good life, to have good partners, meet great people along the way, and have a enriched life, right? An enriched, elevated living experience, basically.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. So I know one of your big focus markets right now is Georgia. You're doing a lot of stuff in Georgia, some stuff in Florida as well. How did you land on Georgia? What is it about that market that really captured you, particularly the Atlanta market? But what is it about Georgia that you look for as far as where you're investing today?
Well, look, a lot of people, look, it's one of those, it's a bit like question like, well, how do people pick markets like Atlanta's or Tampa's or Phoenix's, these hot markets that we hear about. For me, look, I think Phoenix, I'll give you a contrast, right? For instance, I think Phoenix is a phenomenal market, but for me, the deal was, and people are making crazy money in Phoenix, but for me, the deal was historically, at least just looking back, it's a market where the highs are really high and the lows are really low, right? And I worked in oil and gas. I didn't want to be in another commodity business, right? Where, 2 years you feel like you're walking on water, and the 5 years after that, you can't catch a break, right? So for me, Atlanta offered the nice combination of a lot of in-migration of high income paying jobs, right? Population growth, but it also is a part of a big economy like Georgia. It's the center of the big economy. And particularly in the case of Atlanta, it is both the cultural capital as well as the banking capital of the South. So all the money flows through Atlanta to get to all these other states like the Alabamas, the Arkansas, the Tennessees, the Mississippi, and even all the way up to northern Florida. So for me, it had a lot of positives: net in migration, jobs, growth, and it was still affordable that, say a family, a median household income family, say move from Chicago, they make $60,000, $80,000 a year, they can still afford living in Atlanta. I mean, they don't have to kill themselves in the process. Their kids can go to decent schools, maybe not the best, and they can have a decent quality of life. You can't do that in a lot of other cities now. It's just getting harder and harder. The climb is becoming very steep. So that's why it really attracted me to Atlanta.
Yeah, you point out some really great things, right? You talk about the job growth and population growth and migration patterns, but also affordability. And the thing that always jumps out to me when you think about a market like that is what's the longevity? Because you don't
Yeah,
want to hop on a trend. You know, it's great to look at, hey, this city has grown 10% over the last year. That's great, but that's not really an indication that this is going to last for a long period of time. And if you're
yeah,
making these investments, you need to look at the long-term trajectory. And the thing I love about a market like Atlanta is those numbers were very similar when I was a kid. I mean, over the last 20, 30,
yeah.
40 years, people have been moving to that city and it's seen a lot of good
Consistently,
growth and it's
consistently.
been consistent.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I think too, you look at the universities that are there, you look at the companies that are
World
there,
class.
Coca-Cola, Home Depot. I mean, you're talking, world-class major companies that are obviously growing and continue to expand. So there's a lot to like about that market.
And think
Now I'm not
about it this way. Sorry, one more thing. I'm sorry. Biggest airport in the world. Sorry, go
yes,
ahead. I just wanted to point that out because
absolutely.
that's
Well,
criminally underrated, basically.
and the reason that's important is you got to understand logistics and transportation because yes, there are people. It's one thing to talk about an airport in the sense of going from here to there, but it's a hub. So a lot of people, a lot of the logistic jobs that go through there, whether it be UPS, Amazon, deliveries. So it's a really important city to reach the rest of the South, like you said, but even going to the West and to the East. So there's a lot to like there. Now, I'm not here just to sell you on the city of Atlanta, but I do think it's really important to understand that yes, markets are seeing growth and a lot of markets are seeing growth, but it's not necessarily all the same growth. And you got to look deeper than just the population growth numbers and
Yeah.
really understand like, hey, what's driving this? And is this likely to sustain itself, for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And the thing that I think both you and I like about a market like Atlanta is looking backwards in history. It shows that
Mm-hmm.
yes, it will, but also looking forward to the key indicators, it looks like that's going to be the case as well.
Yeah.
You've done a lot over the last few years, right? You've grown. You've talked about over 1,300 units that you all have acquired, and you've really grown your business. What have you learned, from maybe the first deal? And I think we did a deal together in Florida. I was happy to
Yeah.
join you on that deal. What have you learned from that deal to today? When you look at an opportunity, what's different or what's changed in the boardwalk wealth approach?
Well, I don't know what's changed, but there's a lot of things that are still the same in terms of the outlook and approach to looking at assets. But I think what I've learned primarily is, and this hasn't come naturally to me, and still doesn't come naturally to me, is the fact that how much more, actually, how less importance a lot of technical people, they say like myself, give to aspects like marketing and branding versus how important it is in real life. Because, for instance, in the case, I mean, we've both seen a lot of people that can't add two numbers together, but because they're marketing and but they have the intellect to have such good marketing and branding that they've been able to scale efficiently, right? Very quickly. So I think that's a criminally underrated area that because maybe I'm not naturally attuned to that, I have to get better at. And that's the biggest thing I've learned, more than say looking at deals or analyzing deals or running the deals. It's the marketing, branding, and positioning elements of your business, which I think a lot of people don't really nail down, which are more critical, in fact, I think, even than finding deals sometimes.
That's big points there. And it's business, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that jumped out to me and what really helped me understand was like, it's a business just like any other business. Yes, there's construction involved. Yes, there's a lot of financing and loans, and you have to be adept
Yeah.
at all of those different things. But ultimately, all businesses come down to the same functions, right? You've got a sales team, you have, an HR component, you've got operations, you've got finance. And when you think about those different components, in production, right, or a product, you got to have something, a widget or something you're selling, right? But when you put those things together, that's the foundation for every business. And you've got to get strong in those things. But that sales and marketing aspect, it's got to be key if you want to grow. And that's something that we
Yeah.
have definitely seen those successful people focus on. It's one of the reasons we kind of pivoted this show a couple
Yeah.
of times to focus a little bit more on the marketing aspects, because we do think it's really critical for you to understand how to position yourself, how to build a brand, how to connect with other people if you are going to stand out. Omar, one thing you do very differently than most other people I see is you are not afraid to be controversial or to say something
I will not
that
say that actually, but you go ahead.
I will say it, and I am saying it. So I've known you for a while, and you say things things at times that absolutely make people's eyebrows raise. And I know it's a part of your personality, but I'm also just curious if you feel that you either put people off by speaking your truth and kind of just being direct and honest and saying something that other people may disagree with, or do you just feel like, hey, you're just being yourself, and the people who, have a problem with it, maybe they probably weren't going to do work with you anyway?
See, I don't, okay, that's a good perspective to have because it's an external perspective to mine. So obviously it's good to get feedback. Look, I never really viewed it like that because for me, the idea was if somebody asks you, is 2 + 2 5? I don't think it's polite to say, yeah, it's 5. Yeah, you go. You're stunning and brave. Do it, right? I mean, I don't think it's offensive to tell somebody, hey, if somebody says 2 + 2 is 5, you're like, look, sure, if you want to call it 5, that's great. But if you're asking for my opinion, it's 4. And it doesn't make you any less stunning or brave, if you call 2 + 2 4. I just didn't think it was I just didn't think it was controversial to begin with, right? But that's my opinion. But obviously, it's obviously an opinion not shared by many people, or enough people rather. I would like them to share this opinion. So for me, look, on factual matters which are easily verifiable, I don't think one needs to argue about opinion. Yeah. But on say softer aspects like marketing, branding, yeah, there's many opinions and one can have an opinion. So for me, it was never really a conscious decision to do one thing over the other. It was like, hey, you asked me a question, I answered a question, and I've probably forgotten about it and moved on. And if somebody else thinks about it, great. But hey, if I have to improve myself, I'm definitely there because, you don't want to be, excuse my language, you don't want to be a dick, man. That's not the intention, right? The intention isn't to be like mean or rude. But the intention is, look, if you ask me a question, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. It's interesting because I always feel like you have, you can call it a contrarian view or however you want to slice it up. But I feel like you always have a take that is a little different than, maybe what other people are being told. For instance, I heard you on another show, Jeremy Goodrich's show, actually. And I think you were talking about, I think you were talking about mindset and reading books and listening to podcasts, and you said that people shouldn't do any of that. But maybe you can.
I didn't say that. No. Hold on. What I said was, because him and I were talking, I think, about life coaching, and I said, look, LeBron James gets coaching. He's great. Right now, he's the best basketball player on the planet, or one of them at least, right? He gets coaching. So we obviously know coaching as a frame or career or a profession is very useful. But these days, I feel like anybody who can't find a real job becomes a coach. So you're broke in your real life, but you're giving financial advice to other people. So I said, look, those types of coaching, those types of mindset people, yeah, you should kind of ignore them. Because if somebody doesn't have their own shit together, how are they going to tell you to get yours? Look, it's going to like a trainer to get personal training for gym. And you say, I want a six-pack, I want to look ripped, I want to freaking crush it. And the guy's morbidly obese. Come on, man. Like that's probably not going to work out, right? So what I didn't mean to say was, hey, you shouldn't have good mindset. But I think what I'm saying was that, hey, everybody's just so focused on the mindset aspect. I got to read this book. I got to get this life hack. I was like, shit, dude. One of these days you got to do the work also, because none of these hacks are going to help you if you don't actually go do the freaking work. So kind of focus on the work because that's kind of a little important. And then we go down the hack part, right? But gotta start moving in the work part, right? Everybody can't be a leader. Some of us have to be followers as well, right? That's basically where it was going. So I'm not opposed to coaching. I just feel like you should get coaching from people who are actually wise, who've been there, done that, some element of that, not some guy who can't pay his own bills and giving you advice on finance.
Well, I think too, like you should look to solve a problem, kind of going back to where we started the conversation, right? It's hey, what problem are you trying to solve? That way you can understand how you move forward, as opposed to not really knowing how to move forward and just hoping that this magician is going to magically make your life better, because that's not how it works. You have to put in the work, as you said. And in this business, it comes down to deals and capital. You've got to find deals. You've got to align those deals with the capital, and then you can move forward with operations. And you really have to keep your mind focused on those aspects. Everything else is, I don't want to call it clutter, but anything that's not finding a deal or, getting the capital necessary to do deals is not
noise.
moving forward in the right direction. You've got to make sure that you are, putting your right foot forward so that you can actually make progress in your business. So let's talk a little bit more about your stuff, right? So
Yeah.
you've got Boardwalk Wealth, you are growing, you're up to 1,300 units right now. What have you done, or what are you doing right now to continue accelerating your growth?
So look, in my particular case, I had to decide very early on, like, am I going to be more on the marketing equity raising side? I'm going to be more on the operation side. And there's no right answer to that, right? You have to lean into your personality. So for me, it was more of an operational person, technical person. But again, it's personality, maybe background, whatever you want to call it, right? That's where I leaned and still lean. So I took that approach. So for me, finding deals is very important. And then finding deals with enough margin is very important, because I a couple of years back, I sat down, I did the math, and realized that about 88 to 90% of my total compensation in the deal is back-ended, right? Like profits based, basically. So when I did the math, barring like, me doing, I don't know, $600 million a deal, some weird number like that, the amount of money that once I pay out my partners and my investors, the returns that they want, I could make, like, say, more money doing less deals than I could make on doing more deals as a fee, because more deals means it's mostly a fee or a volume business, right? Typically, not always, typically. So for me, it was a hard pivot then that I decided, okay, I'm going to do 4 deals a year, 3 to 4, maybe 4.5 deals a year on average. And now for me, it's all about making calls to the brokers, to the owners, staying in touch with people. And it's kind of like marketing, but in the aspect of finding deals, right? And a lot of this isn't some profound insight about, hey, go do this one thing. A lot of this, honestly, John, it's like old school cold calling, but you got warm leads where you just pick up the phone and call people, right? Hey man, what's going on? Like, what do you have? Okay, when do we tour? And setting up the tours and following up, putting the offers. And I mean, there's a whole list of process, this, right? But focusing more on that and less on the marketing angle of things. But again, I have to get better on the marketing angle of things. So I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. Take me back to kind of maybe that first deal, right? Because, when you don't have a huge track record, picking up that phone call, talking to the brokers, talking to the owners, it can feel like there's a higher barrier to overcome. So talk to me a little bit more about kind of overcoming those barriers on that first deal versus now what it looks like when you're tracking down and looking for those opportunities.
So look, in my case, like I told you, because I was on the investment sales side, right, in the banking world and on the buy side. So those conversations were not typically alien to me, right? I mean, obviously it's a lot better. It's a lot better now. Trust me. I would want to go back in time, right? But those calls weren't as alien to me. So the process on which, how you talk to investment salespeople, how you set up the entire process, how you go through all that stuff. That process wasn't alien because I'd been doing it on the corporate side for a significant chunk of my life. So now, obviously, I have a lot more credibility. You do deals. I mean, money talks and bullshit walks, right? So it's easier, but at that time, too, it wasn't that alien to me. But again, I had done this for 10 years on the corporate side. So that's why I was coming into it with a lot of practice, basically. As Al and I would say, practice, man. Why are we doing practice?
Oh, there you go. And that's the key thing, right? Is like you get better as you put in the work, right? You put in practice, you do it over and over, you're building these reps. You mentioned going to the gym or having a personal fitness coach. It's the same kind of thing. You've got to put in the reps. And if you're making those phone calls and you're talking to brokers, you're putting in offers, you're looking at a ton of deals, it just gets easier and easier if you're putting in that work. So you've obviously been able to do that and see great success with your company. We had you on the show before. We talked a lot about underwriting and, some of the mistakes and challenges that people make. I'm curious, with the way the world has changed over the last few years, have you made adjustments to your underwriting, or what are some of your core underwriting principles today?
They've got to stay the same. It didn't matter doing, I mean, 99%. Obviously, you course correct along the way, right? 99% of this is the same thing. Nothing's changed. It's the same perimeters. It's the same yardstick. Because my point is, look, because the fundamentals don't change, right? The fundamentals, whether in good or bad times, they do not change. So the core principles have always stayed the same. I don't know why people say we're doing this, we're doing that. It's all the same, man. I mean, look, again, by exceptions for certain markets, there's certain things you see, maybe certain markets have more high bad debt than other markets, or maybe certain markets have more rent growth than other markets, right? But it's not like you're going to underwrite, say, a 20% rent growth in one market and a 5% in the other, because frankly, that's just asking for trouble. So the fundamentals haven't changed. They stayed the same. And I think it is both a testament to understanding the fundamentals that they have stayed the same, right? Because only if you understand it do things stay constant, but also having enough discipline. Because one aspect that I realized, and again, this is highly privileged, highly grateful for this experience, that because my family was a business family, an entrepreneurial family, I had seen a lot of people actually go up very quickly in say 5-7 years time, but also crash and burn very quickly, right? So a lot of times it's you try to learn from other people's bad experiences, right? So seeing the fact that I'm 36, hopefully I don't die soon because I got 2 young kids, very expensive kids these days. I realized, I have a long life ahead of me. So what I need to do is put the right fundamentals, put the right team, have the right people around me, and take care of the downside, and the upside will take care of itself. Dude, we're in America, man. Come on. This is a land of opportunity, man. Like if you take care of the downside, you pay your bills on time, you're good, you're a reliable, trustworthy person. Long-term, people want to work with you. They want to work with you. They want to do things happen with you.
Love it, man. I love it. I love that you talked about having the right fundamentals to start. And if you have that, there's not really need to adjust much because you start from a place of protecting that downside. When you're talking to prospective investors and they ask about Boardwalk Wealth, your principles, your values, things that make you different, what are some of the things that you like to highlight?
Look, some of the things that I have highlighted, number one, most of my referrals or most of my investors are word of mouth now. So in terms of marketing speak, they're already warm leads. There's a lot of social proof built in, right? Because 5 of their friends or family members who said, hey, this guy's made us a lot of money. A lot of the initial hurdles that you have, on those calls, psychologically or otherwise, they don't exist anymore, right? So social proof is very important, right? In my particular case, look, I put my own money in all my deals, right? So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I sign on the loan documents. So again, it's very simple, man. If I screw up and I'm not going to get a loan again, and if I don't get a loan again, it's going to be real hard to do more business in this field, right? So it's a lot of this is aligning of interest and then putting your money where your mouth is. And then look, for some people it works. For actually 99% of the people it works because I haven't had a pushback. But maybe for 1 or 2 people it doesn't work, and that's fine. You don't have to win every battle. You don't have to make everyone happy.
Hey, listen, Omar, great stuff. And obviously you continue to grow. We always wish you the best success. For those folks who want to learn more about you, your website is boardwalkwealth.com. Yeah. From there, they can learn more about your investment opportunities and more about what you're doing in your business. So check them out at boardwalkwealth.com. We're going to move on to our round of insights. You ready?
Yeah, let's go. I hope so.
All right. Give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Oh, there's lots of them. For instance, getting rejected by multiple girls, especially early on in life. Trust me, it sounds really superficial to say this, but you get used to rejection, right? And it's a hard rejection when it's girls you like, right? Because come on, nobody likes that, right? But it's just getting up and just keep hitting on girls, man. This was before I was married. So learning how to get rejected quickly, efficiently, and then moving on. But then it translates into other areas of life, right? Hey, not getting that interview you really wanted. You didn't nail that. You realize, yeah, it sucks. You feel bad. Gotta move on. But it all started with girls, I can tell you that.
I see, clearly. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Oh, for my business, Google. Dude. Anytime I don't know something, it's Google or YouTube. Straight up. I just literally type it. And the one thing I've realized by going to Google and YouTube is I have to date not had an original idea in my life because at least 1 million people have asked this question, whatever question comes to my mind before.
There you go. Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
Oh yeah, that's a good one, right? I think a couple of months ago I read that book, Who Not How. I don't know if you know about it, because I'm a member of Strategic Coach. I get coaching from them, right? So that's a book I've recommended to a lot of people, or rather given to a lot of people. Again, the book is nothing profound in terms of what the person is saying. It's just the way he has said it, basically.
Yeah, I just finished that myself. I really enjoyed it, and like you said, it's a concept you can get pretty quickly. It's just a matter of understanding the nuance behind it so you
Yeah.
can actually implement it in your business. So it just helps
It's
you
just
actually,
even the tagline, right? Who, not how. I mean, it's such a snappy
Yeah.
tagline that you just remember that, and you've basically gotten the entire book, which speaks very highly to the person's ability, right? The
There you go.
writer's ability. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Oh, I think I'm a slave to my calendar. Somewhat. I mean, I would say I'm a 90% slave to my calendar because it helps me organize my time, keeps me, just keeps me going. Number one, because I know everything is a task and I gotta get it done. And the bigger thing is, I think starting out for most people, at least it happened to me, most people I knew would make fun of me because I would say if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Slowly, people have come around to this idea in my life, but it has helped me become much more productive and efficient. Also, by the way, in my personal life also, right? So I'm not ignoring aspects of my personal life also.
Yeah. Give me your number one insight for multifamily investing.
Oh, so for instance, look, if you're an investor, as an example, right? What I would suggest is stop looking at the deal and start analyzing qualitatively the person's character and their competence, whoever you're investing with. The deal doesn't even matter as much because if you have screened for the right competence and the right character, you'll be fine. Because a lot of times people spend so much time on the deal and not on the team. And look, you can have the best deal in the world if it's run by either incompetent people or crooks, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, great tips there. All right, we're going to lighten the mood a little bit here, man. You're still in Dallas, or where are you at right now?
Oh, dude, you don't got to rub it in. I used to be in Dallas and I moved to small town Oklahoma. My wife accepted a position at a local hospital there. So right now, I think it's okay right now because we got 2 young kids, so we don't even do anything exciting anymore, right? But I would love to move back to a big city.
There you go. Well, you're in Oklahoma. I mean, listen, you did the same thing I did, right? I moved back to Cincinnati, so it's same thing with the family. It's just what
John, big difference. John, big difference. My town has 17,000 people. Cincinnati has at least 1 million, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, a little different. Well, nonetheless, man, hopefully you found some place to get a good bite to eat. So give me your favorite place to eat in that city.
Oh, Applebee's, Chili's. Those are the 2 best ones.
Okay. Applebee's,
yeah, I know. Trust me. It's not. I don't tell you this because I'm ecstatic about this.
All right, give me your favorite place in Dallas. Then we can go back.
Oh, dude. Okay, so in Dallas, there's a lot of like the good barbecue places. There's a Pecan Lodge in Deep Ellum. There's a Hard Eight Barbecue in Carrollton. Look, if you're in Texas and you don't have Texas barbecue, I don't even know why you're in Texas.
All right, there you go. Some barbecue in Texas is what we're going to shoot for.
Yeah.
I know when we do the show notes, we're going to put your favorite place to grab a bite to eat. And I know you well enough that your favorite place to eat is probably not Applebee's. So I just want to make sure we can get to that.
But you asked what's the favorite place where I live, and you got to make do with what you have.
There you go. And that's no offense to Applebee's or Fridays.
Oh, no.
We're not knocking those great places.
No, we can knock them. We can totally shit talk them. I've been there enough time to shit talk them. Don't worry about
it. and there you go with those views we talk about, right? So listen, if you want to check out Omar, learn more about what he's doing with Boardwalk Wealth, check him out at boardwalkwealth.com. Omar, I just want to thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. We look forward to staying in touch and seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Sean. I greatly appreciate you taking the time and inviting me back.